Musings, a series, is a recent attempt to transmute some of life's hardships and grievances into something more endurable. In this update, I'll give some context on said musings. Nothing too eventful or drawn out, as I'm still recovering from one of the worst sick spells I've experienced in my adult life, as I'm sure you can hear in my voice, and I apologize for that ahead of time. Seriously, I've survived some gritty, grimy crud in the past, but this took the cake. Over recent weeks, the stars aligned in such a way that paths would be cleared and mountains moved in order that I might go forward further into the world. Needless to say, such colossal changes don't come without significant damage. As I myself have been known to say, destruction is the catalyst to creation. Perhaps precursor would be more accurate a term. Anywho, I had, without a doubt, become stuck, in the truest sense of the word. Days and weeks and months cycled on loop, all filled with dreadfully predictable circumstances, both avoidable and unavoidable. Some things went as planned, some not so much, but in every instance I got exactly what I asked for. Note to self: please remember that destruction comes before creation, so when asking or wishing to create a scenario, remember an exchange of sorts will take place. Alas, I was mired down in all that was transpiring, allowing myself to sink deeper and deeper into the oddly familiar void of despair. Like a rock tossed into quicksand, I sank to the depths of defeat. All that remained was an indent on the surface of where I once stood before the ground gave way. What led to this cinematic decline in my life? I still wager it's something in the air. Everyone, I mean everyone around me, seemed to be going through the throes of multiple converging crises. But since I had recently identified myself with being the person who helps, not suffers, I may or may not have headed into battle with more ambition than capability. Fast forward a few weeks, and I'm both nursing wounds while taking comfort in lessons learned. Number 1. People are, sadly, predictable more often than not, ourselves included. How do we live with this condition? My answer: we allow people to be flawed with drawing our lines in the quicksand so not to be sucked in when the going gets messy. Sometimes that looks like setting boundaries for yourself with yourself, aka accountability. 2. Authenticity is great and all, but most folks are so jacked up from the shit show this world has devolved into that your most earnest attempts to be a beacon of truth will still catch undeserved shade. How do we deal with that condition? Recognize we live in a world of manipulation, the larger degree of which is presently arbitrary versus utilitarian. The best any of us can do with that is practice restraint. Much easier said than done, given even our best intentions are ultimately rooted in ego. 3. If you're introverted and you take on an extroverted role, hang on. People are so accustomed to unnatural hierarchy that anyone with a slightly elevated status is perceived to be a leader. This can be an issue if all you meant to do was show up as yourself, and it so happens that was an effective enough action to move and shake things and people around you. So how do you deal with that condition? As a newly made friend said to me just a day ago, heroism must be avoided, but it's tricky because people would rather be a hero or have a hero than to step up and be equal warriors in this revolution of sorts. It's how we're conditioned. To have someone to praise gives us a false sense of participation in the work being done by any given hero by way of support. To blame any given hero or person of the hierarchy gives us a false sense of accomplishment via boycott, and a convenient way to deny one's own part in inflicting harm. All that versus taking action that changes the world into a better place, rather than targeting individuals. Number 4. No amount of saving other people from terrible circumstances will insulate you from those same terrible circumstances. How do we deal with that condition? They say life's what you make it. I'm increasingly convinced it's more so what you don't allow it to become. On the same note, creation happens all the time in countless formats across the plane of our existence. Like a child traveling through the birth canal, a thought, a concept, a vision can't be stopped. The contractions already started the moment an idea entered your mind. All that to say, while bad things must be stopped, the only way to truly prevent bad things from permeating your life or the world is to out-create them with the kind of things you want to see in the world. To obsolete the bad with a consistent and ever-increasing opposite thing. Yes, eventually, one will become more common than the other. 5. You can't do enough, good enough, or fast enough to save the world for everyone or even anyone. How do we deal with that seemingly defeatist condition? We start by recognizing it's truly not our place to begin with. What? Not our place to change the world? What about the homeless? What about the hungry? What about the atrocities going on in the world, like in Gaza? Number 4. By creating conditions that unconditionally honor life, we actively destroy the conditions that discard life. The only change happening there takes place as a subsequent result of organic influence, the only real change maker, and the very core of our universe. So what about paths being cleared and mountains moved? I don't know if you've ever tried to get out of your own way before, but you might as well try to move a parked bus with your own pinky finger. It's going to take a lot of will, determination, and follow-through, and probably some phenomenal therapy, which I got recently and I'm very grateful for. But I digress. The steep mountains of my expectations of people have disappeared, and my path, which was littered with the debris of everyone else's shattered expectations of me, aka interreflections, is now clear and straight, though not without some scenic views. But I think I'll save that for next time. Thanks for listening.